Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritta Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriye. Nasta Prayesha Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Tamashloki Bhakti and Bhagavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna devotees. So, beg the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis that we may have a nice discussion today on this most glorious Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. And we're so fortunate to have the opportunity to discuss this presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam by the unlimited mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So today we'll be reading from Canto 4, chapter number 24, text number 66, and the title of the chapter is Chanting the Song Sung by Lord Shiva. Again, text number 66. Ramatamuchaya ritikritya chintaya prabuddha lobam vishayeshu lalasam tam apramata sahasabhida padyase shuleli hanoahir ivakum antakaha. Pramatam, persons who are mad. Uchayi, loudly. Iti, thus. Kritya, to be done. Chintaya, by such desire. Pravruddha, very much advanced. Lobam, greed. Vishayeshu, immaterial enjoyment. Lalasam, so desiring. Tvam, your lordship. Apramata, completely in transcendence. Sahasa, of all of a sudden. Abhipadyase, seizes them. Sut, hungry. Lelihana, by the greedy tongue. Ahi, snake. Eva, life. Akum, mouse. Antakaha, destroyer. Translation in purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear Lord, all living entities within this world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with a desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your lordship is always alert, and in a due course of time you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows it. Purport. Everyone is greedy, and everyone makes plans for material enjoyment. In his lust for material enjoyment, the living entity is described as a madman, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:27. Rakute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha hankara vimujatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities, which are in actuality carried out by nature. Everything is enacted by the laws of nature, and these laws are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The atheists, or unintelligent men, do not know this. They are busy making their own plans, and big nations are busy expanding their empires. And yet we know that in the due course of time, many empires have come into existence and been destroyed. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness. But we can see that in the course of time, those families and empires have all been destroyed. But still the foolish atheists do not accept the supreme authority of the Lord. Such foolish people unnecessarily concoct their own duties without referring to the supreme authority of the Lord. The so-called political leaders are busy making plans to advance the material prosperity of the nation. But factually, these political leaders only want an exalted position for themselves. Due to their greed for material position, they falsely present themselves as leaders before the people and collect their votes. Although they are completely under the grip of the laws of material nature, these are some of the faults of modern civilization. Without taking to God consciousness and accepting the authority of the Lord, the living entities become ultimately confused and frustrated in their plan-making attempts. Due to their unauthorized plans for economic development, the price of commodities is rising daily all over the world, so much so that it has become difficult for the poorer classes, and they are suffering the consequences. And due to lack of Krishna consciousness, people are being fooled by so-called leaders and plan makers. Consequently, the sufferings of the people are increasing. According to the laws of nature, which are backed by the Lord, nothing can be permanent within this material world. Therefore, everyone should be allowed to take shelter in the of the Absolute in order to be saved. In this regard, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surdam sarva bhutanam nakmam mam shantam richati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material existence. If one wants peace of mind and tranquility in society, he must accept the fact that the real enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, the Lord is the proprietor of everything and all over the universe, and He is the supreme friend of all living entities as well. By understanding this, people can become happy and peaceful individually and collectively. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshudam Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamstra Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sagana Raghunatam Nitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paridana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nitamstra He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Anchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindhu Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you again for this opportunity and seek the blessings of all devotees so that we can have a nice discussion. So I'll just reread the verse again. The verse is, My dear Lord, all living entities within this world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with a desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your lordship is always alert, and in the due course of time you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. So we continue this conversation between Lord Shiva and the Prachetas. And the Prachetas are hearing Lord Shiva's prayers to the Supreme Lord. And these prayers are very, very powerful. Prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one of the 9 processes of devotional service. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see really an extraordinary display of prayers by many, many great personalities. And so there's a lot for us to learn in analyzing and understanding the mood of prayers. And here in this current section within these prayers, Lord Shiva has been speaking about the futility of the material world. and how we want things to be permanent, yet it doesn't happen. And certainly in this verse, he's speaking about our plans. And in the next verse, Lord Shiva is going to basically say, unless you worship the Supreme Lord, everything is spoiled. In some ways, the conclusion to this section within these prayers around the futility of the material world. It's amazing to see such a vivid description from Lord Shiva of the living entity and its greed, bearing in mind, that he's speaking to the Prachetas who are about to perform 10,000 years of austerity underwater. And so in a very elevated time, where there was great moral principles, great spiritual culture, yet he is speaking very strikingly about greed. And it gives us some indication that, this is not a new phenomenon. Certainly in the age of Kali, we see this intense greed everywhere. But even in the prior yugas, this nature to try to, as Prabhupada said, lord it over material nature is present. And this verse, it's not sugar-coated at all. And Srila Prabhupada's purport is equally direct. And it's a great blessing. Sometimes we need a little bit of harsh reality to kind of slap us into position, to shake us from our malaise and bring us to reality. And so this verse is certainly presented in such a way as is Srila Prabhupada's purports. And it is good for us. The summary is that we are making so many plans to enjoy our senses, one after another, due to this uncontrollable and insatiable greed. And there is no limit to the efforts, and thus there is no adherence to right or wrong. We will not avoid what is wrong, nor will we adhere to what is right. And so this greed for material enjoyment is there in all, and the result is always the same. Krishna will strike us down as this snake, swallows the mouse very easily. So it's a very vivid description, and it's not the most optimistic of outlooks. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport gives a very harsh reality, but it is reality of the situation of our plans. But with his great mercy and compassion upon all of us, he presents at the end of this verse, the formula for peace. And I was very struck by the last statement in the purport, where Prabhupada says, by understanding this, meaning this peace formula, people can be happy and peacefully, individually and collectively. Certainly, we are in an era right now where we are collectively, searching for peace due to the material and bodily troubles that are plaguing our society. And so this formula is not just, one for our own salvation, but for collectively as a world, as a society. And so we'll discuss a little bit about this and its broad application. So I thought we could talk about three things today. Our plans and the result of our own plans. I'll talk a little bit about Krishna's plan and what is his plan for us, and then discuss this, very beautiful peace formula that Krishna has given at the end of the 5th chapter. And so we'll discuss those three things today. So our plans, we have so many plans. And Woody Allen, the famous actor, said, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. And despite the reality of this wonderful statement, we continue to make so many plans. Thinking we are the doer, everyone is trying so hard to enjoy this material world. And we have senses, and thus we try to enjoy them with so many different engagements. And not having knowledge of actually how we are to engage these senses. And the result of engaging the senses in the sense objects, Krishna says in the 2nd chapter, it leads to lust. And this lust ultimately is what fuels greed. Because when our lust, our intense desires are satisfied, when they are occasionally, the greed isn't satisfied, meaning we want more and more and more. And when we don't get it, we become angry. And thus we have these three: lust, anger, and greed as the real problems of our material existence. So in any scenario, our lustful desires are left unsatisfied. If we get it, we're not happy because we have greed for more. And if we don't get it, we're angry because we are frustrated. And so this greed, it compels us to act in so many sinful ways, willing to do anything to satisfy the senses. Arjuna asks in the 3rd chapter, "Oh Krishna, what is this seemingly invisible force that leads one to sin?" Krishna has just explained the benefits of working in a detached manner, doing yajna. And it seems so logical and obvious. It is so much better for the living entity to work in coordination with Krishna. So Arjuna is wondering, why is it then that people don't do this? And Krishna says, it is lust only, Arjuna. It is only lust. So this lust propels one to do so many ridiculous things. And we see it around us today. Why are there so many abortions today? It is greed for sex life. And why are there so many overdoses of drugs and intoxication? It is greed. So much production in the factories. It is greed for our consumerism. How much pollution is there? Why? Because there's greed by corporations to cut corners and save costs so they can maximize profits. So the point is, we can see this greed all around us. Why do we have to lock our doors at night? Because we know people are greedy and they'll take things that aren't theirs. This is the nature of living entities. And thus we have to lock our doors. So armed with this greed, we make so many plans of how we want to try to advance our position. As Srila Prabhupada is speaking about, nations are making so many plans of how they want to advance, make progress with more money, more facilities, more luxury, more power. But the result is always the same. It is frustration, failure, and ultimately confusion. So how many efforts have been invested, or how much effort's been invested in trying to improve the quality of life? We've added so many features to our existence with internet and different amenities of the home and travel and communication. Yet only suffering is increasing. Moral principles are decreasing. Peace of mind is decreasing. So clearly, that formula is not working. And so the plan is out of way. And why do we work this way? Prabhupada quotes this very important verse from the 3rd chapter, this prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Ahankara, this false ego. It leads us to believe that we are the doer. We foolishly think that I am doing it. But Krishna has very clearly said, we have very limited role in our activities. We are so dependent on Krishna and the material nature that is acting under his direction. So Krishna is trying to smash our ego in the 3rd chapter in getting us to understand how to work according to his plan. But due to the false ego, we carry on with so many plans of our own. And what is the result of working according to our plans? We know Krishna's law is going to prevail, and bring our plans to rubbles. We know, man proposes and God disposes. We make all kinds of plans, but ultimately Krishna is going to decide what is going to happen. And we see it today. How many of our plans have been destroyed? Weddings and graduations and vacations and businesses and sporting seasons and schools, everything. Yet I am the controller. I have my fate in my own hands. It's so obvious. And moments like this is actually a great blessing, because it reminds us that we don't have this independent ability. We are ultimately answering to the nature, to the laws of Krishna's rule. And so Krishna's law of karma, is what will lead him to strike us as the snake strikes a mouse. And when we read this, it seems, wow, that's unfair. Why is Krishna attacking us? Well, Krishna is not attacking us. This attack is based purely on the laws of karma. As soon as we take action into our own, with our minute free will, we become responsible for these different actions. So, of course, we all know this. It's all, just a reminder of, what we've heard for many, many years. But it's a healthy reminder in understanding this. But if we want to enjoy this world without acknowledging who is the real owner, there will be consequences. Just like if I go into a store and I want to enjoy the shopkeeper's products without paying for them, there will be consequences. I'll be punished. That's a thief. A thief is always punished. And so this, when we try to enjoy the Lord's resources of this material world without doing sacrifice, without yajna, there will be consequences. And that is the law of karma. And so the difficulty we see in this world, it is all due to the reactions of our past activities. Every action generates an equal and opposite reaction. Never too much, never too little. And it brings us to an important point, and it's quite relevant in today's circumstance that we are all struggling with. And it's another piece of harsh reality. It's reality, but maybe a little bit difficult to digest. But it is a fact that actually there is no injustice in this world. If we expect or think there is some injustice, it means then Krishna has made a mistake. Someone is afflicted by some difficulty but didn't deserve it. Then it means a mistake. Just like if someone is unjustly imprisoned in the prison house, we know that the courtroom and the government made a mistake, and thus that potential is there. But in Krishna's enacting of the laws of karma, he is the perfect supreme person. And so there is no mistake. He is all-knowing. He knows everything about every living entity. He is present everywhere through his Paramatma feature. And so he has perfect knowledge. He also is all-powerful. So nothing can go beyond his will. If he wanted to stop something from happening, he certainly could. So he has the ability to stop it, and he has the knowledge that it is happening. And he's also all-loving. So he never unfairly or unjustly gives any type of reaction. And so with this basic principle, we understand that there is actually no injustice in this world. We may perceive it, but because of the perfect laws of karma, everything that is happening around us is due in exact proportion to the reactions of prior activities. So this difficult to digest fact at first is actually very liberating. Why is it liberating? It doesn't make us stone light and say, well, okay, someone's suffering on the side of the road. Well, that's their karma. Oh, well. No, that is not the liberating aspect of this knowledge. The liberating aspect of this knowledge is that we no longer have to wonder why someone is suffering. We know exactly why. And if we know exactly why someone is suffering, then we can apply a solution to stop that suffering. And that's why this knowledge of this, or law of the material nature is so powerful. Because we no longer have to think, oh, this is unfair. and lament on that. Instead, we know exactly the reason suffering is happening. And thus, with knowledge, we can stop it. How? The devotee understands one's suffering is simply due to lack of knowledge about our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And so, equipped with this, when we see somebody suffering, it gives us an opportunity to help them in their process of devotional service, which we know by the practice of devotional service, aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Mountains and mountains and mountains of past sins are eradicated, which means future suffering will not occur. So if we take this, absolute understanding of this, there is no injustice. The perfect laws of Krishna, it actually equips us with the strength to make real solutions. The society is working really hard right now in so many intelligent ways, or using intelligence, at least I should say, to try to address this problem of this COVID virus. And it will get solved. But we all know it won't solve disease. Another one will come. But if we took all of this intelligence and all of this energy and applied it according to Krishna's plans in the law of nature, then we can actually permanently stop disease. We have an opportunity if we use the resources we have in front of us. So this, understanding these laws actually can make us equipoised and calm in the midst of all of these problems, because we understand what is the root cause and we have the solution. So how to solve this? It's very simple. Take the Krishna consciousness, accepting the Supreme Lord as the authority. And when we do, everything is perfect. Whenever there is suffering, it is only due to illusion of being separated from Krishna. My eternal consciousness, our eternal consciousness is pure. There is no good and bad. There is no duality. The experience of good and bad is simply on the material platform. And that's why Krishna says to Arjuna, you should tolerate the happinesses and distresses, like the changing of the seasons. There's nothing that you can do about it, but transcend your consciousness to a higher plane. So this greed, Lord Shiva makes the comment in this verse that it is present in every living entity. And he says it's always existing. So this greed, we understand it to be very difficult to overcome. Very difficult. There's a class online right now by one very top university. I won't name it just not to create any attention to it, but it's a very reputable university, and it's a free online class they're giving in the midst of this crisis, and it's saying how to be happy. And I read the summary trying to understand, okay, what are they going to teach? And one of them was trying to become less greedy, because we know if we can subside our greed, we'll be more happy with the things that we have. But any material effort to control greed will not work. It's not going to happen. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan says that the senses can be controlled only by the strength of bhakti, by the strength of devotional service. It is the only means to control greed. Yeah, you may temporarily suppress those material desires, but until you replace them with something higher, something more fulfilling, spiritual life, they'll not subside. And that's why Srila Prabhupada speaks about that the senses and this greed can be easily controlled without extraneous effort by simply engaging in spiritual life, engaging in Krishna consciousness. Trying to artificially suppress it is not going to work. And so Krishna's plan now, Krishna has created an extraordinary plan for all of us. We know our plans that are going to fail. We propose, but ultimately Krishna's will reign supreme. So what is his plan for us? We chose, out of our free will, to try to experience life separate from him. And so we ended up in this material world. Now, what is his plan for us now that we're here? Well, the Supreme Lord has fashioned this world in such a way that it gives us an opportunity to return back home, back to God from where we come, and find this eternal peace and happiness. Even if one wants to enjoy materially, it can still happen. And we have the very vivid example of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj wanted to enjoy extraordinary material opulence. Yet, he achieved perfection of life and went home back to God. And along the way, was able to enjoy the opulence he desired. This is the very merciful orchestration and structure of Krishna's plan. If we work and do our duties not according to our own concoction and our own mind, I do what I want. No, but we take that how Krishna has created this world with various duties, various activities that can actually allow one to enjoy this material world and still achieve the ultimate purpose of spiritual life. And Srila Prabhupada writes about this in so many of his purports, particularly in the Bhagavad Gita, that one is given an opportunity to enjoy and exhaust their material desires while still achieving liberation and going back home, back to God. And this is Krishna's great kindness. He has all these karma kanda processes where one can experience this. But ultimately, we know if one wants to really enjoy the ultimate and supreme happiness, one forgoes all of these lower material pleasures and takes the process of devotional service, and one becomes fully joyful, fully happy, no lamentation, no hankering. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nashotati Nakamshati Samasavesha Bhutishu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. That when one takes the devotional service, the result is so extraordinarily satisfying. But we have to give up our own ideas, our own plans, and start to work under Krishna's plan. We learn to become an instrument in Krishna's plan, then everything becomes perfect. And that's what he told Arjuna in the 11th chapter, that you be an instrument of my plan. Krishna had already arranged for the battle and for everyone to be devoured in death, as Arjuna saw in seeing the universal form. But still, Krishna said to Arjuna, you do your duty. You be an instrument in my plan. And if we learn to work in this way, then things become very wonderful. And so Krishna explains in now this peace formula, this perfect formula. The sages who know these three things never have any difficulty. The first thing, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam. Who is the real enjoyer? Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. As we see in 13th chapter, there are two Purushas. There is the subordinate Purusha and the ultimate Purusha. One must know Krishna is the enjoyer. If we stop trying to enjoy independently in defiance of the real enjoyer, then everything becomes perfect. And it's the fact, but it seems counterintuitive because society is operating in such an opposite manner. But actually, the more we try to please Krishna, and the less we try to enjoy ourselves, the actual more happiness we get. And the more we try to enjoy ourselves, forgetting Krishna, the less we enjoy. And we have practical experience of this, but this is a fact of life. This is a fact of this world and the spiritual world. The more we try to suppress and renounce our own desires for happiness and just focus on Krishna and his happiness, actually the more we enjoy. And we know this factually because Krishna himself was trying to understand this extraordinary mood of service and thus appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was wondering how Radharani could have so much happiness by serving me. She is suppressing her own moods of ecstasy. in order to not have that happiness disrupt her service. How somebody can have such a mood and then experience happiness even higher than my own. I am the Lord of everything. Yet my devotee has something more than what I have, more happiness. So when we understand who is the real enjoyer, then we actually find great happiness. Who is the proprietor? We have to stop this idea of I am the proprietor. This is my house. These are my assets. These are my things. So much so that I think I can even leave them in a will to the next generations. We are not the proprietor of anything. When we understand to use Krishna's resources intelligently, using them with him, because they are his, then things work really nicely. Just like a child, if a son is using the resources of the father's home in conjunction with the will of father, everything is very lovely and peaceful. But as soon as a child tries to enjoy independently, there is conflict. Well, we are also in our Supreme Father's home, living in this material world, and by understanding how to live in conjunction with the Lord, knowing, okay, yes, he has given us some resources. That we have a quota. But no, it is coming from Krishna. And this should stem our greed. This greed comes from thinking, well, I can accumulate as much as I want. No, there's a set aside amount of resources for us to use for our basic existence. And if we acknowledge that, this Ishavasyan principle, this God-centered life, then things become very peaceful. Not only within ourselves, but amongst society. There's no more conflict and battling for resources. These are mine, these are mine. If we all know they are Krishna's, then there is peace. And ultimately, the most wonderful statement to give us confidence and comfort is Suradam Sarva Bhutanam, the third aspect of this peace formula. Krishna is our greatest well-wisher, even more so than our own mother. And in citing the example of Dhruva Maharaj, his own mother said, you go to the forest and seek Krishna, perform devotional service. He will help you. She had so much faith in the protection of the Lord that she was willing to send her 5-year-old son out into the forest, where there are wild beasts and animals and not comfortable places to rest and food. What will he eat? She knew whatever love I can offer to my son is just a tiny fraction of the love that Krishna can show. So when we, walk around this world and understanding Krishna is the enjoyer, he is the proprietor, and he is my ever well-wisher, then where is the scope for being unpeaceful, not having peace? If we know this clearly, then peace is within us, happiness is within us, and we can help others as well. So this greedy mentality, while it's pervasive, can be overcome. And Krishna says, how to overcome this illusory energy, Devi Hesha Gunamayi. Right? He says that by surrendering unto him, one can overcome this illusory energy. So it's there within our hands. So this is the great opportunity we have. And Lord Shiva in the next verse is going to say, if you don't take the devotional service, all your endeavors are spoiled. It's a continuation of this topic. There's no other choice. So in practice, we see that sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, this overcoming of greed. And I thought we could explore, given that we're just coming off the wonderful celebration of Ram Navami, just, a comparison, an analysis. Ravan, we know, is the manifestation of this deluded mentality. But it's within us all today. He is the exemplification of our tendency to try to enjoy God's resources. He was trying to enjoy Mother Sita, who was not his. Well, we are doing no different. We are trying to enjoy all the Lord's resources for our own satisfaction, not understanding who is the real proprietor. And we all know the great flaws in his ways, but do we acknowledge the flaws in our own? Not so clear, but it is actually very similar. So, and we know that Ravan's greed was so intense, so unrelenting, that he was chopping off heads as an offering in his austerities to obtain this immortality. He chopped off 9 of his heads and was about to chop off the 10th until Lord Brahma stopped him. This is how intense the greed was. And we know the result. It led to his complete ruination. He could not say no to one more queen. He had so many and everything. But this greed led to his unimaginable destruction. He overstepped his bounds. And when he was killed, his wives knew, Mandodari. She saw her dying husband. And was she lamenting, why did this happen? This is unfair. No, she says very clearly, by your deeds, you have made your body fit to be eaten by vultures and your soul fit to go to hell. This was a statement of Mandodari. She knew the laws of Krishna. She knew the snake eating the mouse. She didn't blame Krishna for the death of her own husband. She said, by your deeds, you have made your body fit to be eaten by vultures. So this aspect is there. And Ravan had every chance to correct his mistakes. His entire existence was being wiped away. His family members, his armies, his palaces, all being ripped away. And still he had an opportunity to stop it all by simply surrendering Mother Sita. But he couldn't transform his heart, though he had so many chances. And if we compare that to Valmiki Muni, Valmiki Muni had greed also. He had so much greed that he was a murderer, a highway robber, preying on the innocent, committing heinous, sinful acts, driven by greed. Yet, when he came in an association of Narada Muni, what happened? There was a transformation of the heart. And he was able to overcome his greed. So the greed is definitely overcomable if we apply the right solution. Just like we have a gym. The gym is a place to make the body fit. But some people go into the gym and are able to make a very fit body. And other people are going to the gym and are not able to make a fit body. Does that make the gym flawed? No. It makes the application of what's happening in there the difference. When one applies the principles properly, the result is there. So similarly, this devotional service is available to all, but it's based on how it's applied. So why did Valmiki Muni have this great transformation when Ravana did not? It's very simple. Valmiki Muni, when Narada Muni showed him his faults, he took a very humble position. He bowed at the feet of Narada Muni. Oh my, how have I been so foolish? By taking the humble position, the message was able to enter the heart and it was able to transform. and his greed was overcome, seemingly instantly. And he began, even though he was so unqualified, he could not even chant the name Rama. That's how impure he was. Ravana could do great austerities, but Valmiki Muni couldn't even chant Rama. Yet because he took a humble position in association with a pure devotee of the Lord, he was able to have a remarkable transformation of the heart. So much so that after performing so much austerity, he became the authoritative source and speaker of the Lord's most amazing pastimes in compiling the Ramayana. So they both had greed, but one had an extraordinary result and the other had an extraordinary disastrous result. And the reasons are our own doing. So while this verse speaks about Krishna striking the greed, it is not due to unfairness or injustice. It is simply due to the laws of nature. But we can transcend these laws of nature by taking to the process of devotional service. And if we take this knowledge with the mood of humility, the mood of surrender, then the transformation can happen very rapidly. And if we want to bring peace, not only to ourselves, but to everyone around us, we should understand why this is happening. The root cause being our disobedience to the laws of the Supreme Lord, and help the living entities start to follow the instructions of the Lord. And thus we'll find an upliftment, not only of ourselves, but everyone around us. This is the great blessing of the current situation. It is a stark reminder of the vast and significant disobedience of the laws of Krishna, and hopefully gives us some inspiration to, when this thing resolves itself, when this virus subsides and allows us to go out, we don't go out and forget these difficulties, but instead become inspired to help ourselves and others become free from the next one that is surely coming, unless we stop this thieving mentality of trying to lord over the Lord's resources. That is the opportunity we have. I'm grateful for this wonderful verse. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss it. Though stark and harsh, it's a nice reminder of these basic principles that we've known for a long time. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Any comments or questions, discussion?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful class, very nice points and instructions. I don't have any questions. I request all the devotees, if they have any questions or comments or realizations, they can go ahead. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. The class was very, very wonderful. Beautiful realizations. Thanks for the nice comparisons. Thank you, Krishna.
We have a question on Bhagavad Gita. How does Sri Krishna decide the birth and death of the human beings? Is the date and time of death decided when a person is born, or on what factors does birth and death of human beings decided?
So the question is, how does Krishna decide the birth and death of human beings? Is it determined at the time of birth? And then what factors is it determined? So, the living entity, when they appear in any body, the duration is established by the number of breaths. So every living entity is destined to have a certain number of breaths in each of the bodies that they have. So it's not based on time, but it's based on number of breaths. Now, Krishna determines it based on our past actions, based on our karma. How much time do we have to spend, or how many breaths do we have to spend in each type of body? So when we were traversing the lower life forms, we are burning the karma that we created in the human form of life. It's only in the human form of life do we create karma. In the animal form of life, we are burning. So we are destined to be in those life forms, those bodies, for a certain duration that is determined. Now, in the human form of life, we have the opportunity to alter our destiny, to change the course of destiny by the practice of devotional service. When one takes the practice of devotional service, one who may be destined to the gates of hell can be uplifted, as we saw or just discussed in Valmiki Muni. Or how about a Jamil, or Magrari the Hunter, or so many personalities. Those, even today, we see so many people coming from the lowest rung, doing so many activities and taking the devotional service and changing their whole trajectory of where they're going. So that is the opportunity we have. But our duration in this body, it is based on our karma, based on our past actions. And our experiences in this body are also based on our past karma. But again, that karma account can be altered by the process of devotional service. Any other comments or questions?
One more question, or two more. Why Lord Shiva says, Lord strikes the materialist and swallows like a snake, seizes a mouse. Lord being with unlimited compassion, how can he punish the materialist? Please explain, Prabhu.
Yeah, the Lord is always compassionate. But the Lord has to act and give out both punishment and happiness based on the laws. And just like a judge who condemns a prisoner convicts a criminal to prison is not lacking compassion. But the judge must bestow that upon the individual based on the laws of the land to maintain order in society. So when Krishna is striking the materialist, it is due to the materialist disobeying the orders of the land. Anywhere we have this feature. If you go into your office and you disobey the orders of your boss, you'll get fired. And you'll have no one to blame but yourself. So this aspect is pervasive in all aspects of life. If you disobey the orders of the state or the federal government, there will be consequences. So similarly, the laws of the Lord are there and we must answer to them. But Krishna is so compassionate that he says, you may have disobeyed the orders of the Lord for millions of lifetimes. But in just a few short moments, if you really surrender to me and come to Krishna, I will erase all of your past sins. No courtroom will do that. No material authority will do that. But Krishna is so loving. If there is sincere correction, we can undo in just a few short moments what we've been doing for millions of lifetimes. And we see throughout Srimad Bhagavatam that aspect. Read the pastimes of Ajamil. How compassionate the Vishnu Dittas were. Under the direction of Krishna, who even indirectly was chanting the names of the Lord, took that as a prayer to him. Who could be more liberal Ajamil calling out his son Narayan says, oh, he's calling Narayan. Even though Krishna knows he's not calling me, he's calling his son. Vishnuduta says, go and rescue him. Who could be more compassionate? Even unknowingly, indirectly rendering some service, Krishna appreciates. Krishna tells Prahlad Maharaj, you become my devotee, I'm going to deliver 21 generations before and 21 generations forward. Why? Because Krishna wants as many. Like he says, okay, they're all participating in your service. So he's very liberal in his love. But he has to be very exacting in the execution of his laws of karma. Otherwise, he would be unjust. And then it would be unfair. And at the end of the day, we want to live in a fair society. That is at least the baseline objective. So that's why. Next question.
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranams. I have a question, we need to make some plans for practical reasons. We can accept Krishna's plan as it comes. Is that a right mood? Please guide.
Yeah, we have to understand that whatever happens is according to Krishna's plan. And the devotee who has faith in Krishna, who has faith, Surdam Sarva Bhutanam, knows as a fact, not as an opinion, but as a fact, that everything that happens to me is for my own good. It is for my own progress in devotional life. The devotee sees every trouble, every trial and tribulation as a blessing from the Lord, as an opportunity to progress in Krishna consciousness. And that is the mood. And that is the reality as well. Because Krishna says that to my devotee, I take them under my own direction. And I personally guide them. So just as a father sometimes has to correct the son or the daughter, similarly, Krishna sometimes has to correct us also. And when that child takes that correction as a blessing, thank you, Father, for helping me, not veer off the path, then success is there. So similarly, when Krishna gives us setbacks, gives us challenges, we should see, okay, why is this happening? What is Krishna trying to show me in this difficulty? What is it that I need to correct? Instead of pointing the finger and blaming why. No. And if we really meditate in that way, Krishna will reveal to us what it is that we can try to correct and further our Krishna consciousness. And sometimes not so easily to see on our own, and thus we take association with devotees and draw counsel and inspiration from them. Maybe they can help us see what sometimes we can't see ourselves. Another question?
Another question. Is Krishna above the law of karma? Some say karma is above God, and that is why avatars suffer so much when descended to Burloka. Could you clear my doubts? Thank you.
Yes. So is karma above Krishna or is Krishna above karma? Why do the avatars suffer when they come to this world? So it's a great question because it's a source of great confusion. But the answer is very clear. Krishna is the supreme controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Not even a blade of grass can move in the wind without the sanction of Krishna. So Krishna is the controller of the laws of karma. He creates the laws of karma. They are his servant. So when Krishna or any avatar comes to the material world, they are not subject to the laws of karma. Just as much as when a king in his kingdom goes and visits the prison house. The king is the creator of the rules of the prison house. But when the king enters the prison house, he does not all of a sudden become subject to the laws of that prison. No, he transcends. He is the owner. So when Krishna descends to this world, or any of his avatars descend to this world, it's like the king walking into their prison. They do not become subject to the laws of nature. That's why Krishna says in the 4th chapter, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvaha yakta deham punarjanma iti mamiti surjana. That if you understand the nature of my appearance and activities, you'll be liberated. Why? Because we realize Krishna's activities are not like ours. He doesn't have action and reaction. He is transcendental. He is supreme. He carries forth different activities in this material world as an instruction for us, as an inspiration for us. You know, Lord Ramchandra's activities, they shape the perfect role model for all of us of how to live our life. Every step he took, every action he took was a perfect guide for us. But remember, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, has no other activity but to enjoy. But out of compassion for us, he comes and displays his instructions and pastimes for us to be able to overcome this greed, this lust, this anger, pride, envy, delusion, and bewilderment. So he is absolutely transcendental to the laws of karma. They answer to him just as much as clouds can never cover the sun. Though the clouds may block our vision of the sun, we know one is far, far superior in that same way. Okay? Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for very nice class. As you mentioned, like this knowledge is very liberating. It's really, really liberating. So Prabhu, how do we reconcile this that Krishna is ultimate enjoyer? Because people live their life and they die, and in the courts, like they do so many actions, and sometimes those actions go bad, and we land up into this current situation. So I'm trying to understand like how Krishna is enjoying in this when people suffer so much.
Yeah. So of course, Krishna is not enjoying our suffering, but as he says in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he remains aloof from the interactions of the material world. They are carried out by his representatives, the material nature and the different personalities. So his actions are simply to enjoy. And that is ours as well. We are Satchit and Ananda. But we are meant to enjoy with Krishna, not separate from him. So Krishna is not enjoying our suffering. Actually, he is greatly pained by our suffering, meaning he is wishing and eager to have all of us back home with him. That is his intense desire. But he never interferes with our free will and our ability to choose what we want to do. So Krishna, when we say he is supreme enjoyer, it means that everything is meant to be enjoyed by him. And by his enjoyment, we actually find happiness. Because the devotee knows everything is used for Krishna. And what does Krishna do? He wants to use everything for the pleasure of his devotees. In Vrindavan, the only activity of the residents of Vrindavan, how we can give Krishna pleasure. And what is the only activity of Krishna? How I can give the residents of Vrindavan pleasure. When Krishna says, be selfless in your love to me, he reciprocates exactly. He is also selfless in his love to us. It is a two-way street, not a one-way street. So that is the position, but we must always remember that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer because he is the proprietor. If I own my house, in relative speaking, then I can enjoy this house. But if you come to my house, you can enjoy it also, but you can enjoy it as long as I allow you to, because you are the dependent enjoyer, because it's not your house. So me being the proprietor makes me the rightful enjoyer. Well, Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Hamsa Varsya Prabhavo, Mata Sarvam Pravartate. He is a proprietor of everything, which then makes him the enjoyer. And if we are the proprietor of nothing, then we are fully the dependent enjoyer, just like someone coming into the home. Now, Krishna's mercy is unending. And so he allows us to enjoy with him so long as we are working in coordination with him. So his proprietorship is what makes the enjoyer his rightful claim. But he is so merciful and loving that actually what gives him happiness is seeing his devotees happy. That's what gives him happiness. And what gives his devotees happiness is seeing Krishna happy. And that is real love. That is the definition of love. Setting aside one's own needs for the interest of the beloved. Okay?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the question. Anything else?
So, Prabhu, if nobody has any question, I want to just ask one more thing.
Yes.
So when we see our kids, when they are enjoying playing Xbox, and we have this understanding, but they don't have this understanding, it becomes very difficult. We try to stop them and control. I try to stop them, or how do we tackle that situation, because it's a conflict. They are enjoying, and they think this is the real enjoyment. And sometimes you see people watching movies, they are enjoying. Seems like they are enjoying, but they don't understand, and I have this understanding.
Yes. Well, let's keep it to family first, because that's different than maybe others outside. So, with our children, I mean, look, this is, I'm certainly not an expert in this realm by any stretch. I'm not an expert in anything for that matter, but, we have to take a practical approach of continuing to instruct and inform our children. But we also have to acknowledge that children have their free will as well. And so to some degree, we can provide the environment and provide the knowledge and the information and evidence. But ultimately, we have to, they're going to exercise their free will. Yeah, we may suppress their exercise of free will for the period of time they are with us. But at some point, they're going to go out on their own, and their free will is going to get exercised. Right? So, again, there are different philosophies in schools of how to control this, but in general, we keep showering love and compassion and mercy and knowledge. And so remember, Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada taught us, it's an additive process. Instead of trying to subtract all our material desires, what did he do? He just engaged us in devotional service. So similarly, as much as we can, instead of trying to stop the Xbox, we can try to increase the devotional service by whatever creative means. We have to find ways that are enjoyable and fun for them. It may not be fun for them to attend Srimad Bhagavatam class or to sit and chant 64 rounds on Ekadashi. That may not be where they're at. So come to what is enjoyable for them. Maybe they enjoy doing some practical service. Maybe it's in doing some kirtans. Maybe find activities that we can engage them in. Ultimately, keep showering mercy upon them and rely on Krishna's mercy to help them see what we are seeing. So that is what I can offer.
Thank you, Prabhu, so much. Thank you.
Got it.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any more questions or comments? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class again. If there are no more questions, you can end the call here. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. We look forward to your more sessions. We are very grateful to you. If there are obeisances to Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas, Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Jayavita, Patitanam Pravanam Avasha. Krishna Govinda Jai, Srila Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Srimad Bhagavatam. Please praise Krishna Prabhuji Jai.